Hi, and welcome to our baseball podcast. In this episode, we will talk about a mock draft for the EJMA Baseball League. My name is Adrian Paredes, and I run the EJMA Orioles.
And I'm David Houten, and I run the EJMA Texas Rangers.
As a side note, David and I went head-to-head in the EJMA World Series last year. Congrats on that, man. I really thought I had a chance. I thought it was my year.
Thank you. I mean, I actually did not think it was my year because even though I went over 100 games, I thought there was better teams out there, and I went 15-3 in the playoffs. I couldn't believe
Wow.
it. Every round, I just was humble and said, I think this other team is better, but I'm going to do my best. And the dice went with me, and I was fortunate to win, and very happy about it.
You
Good
know,
year.
it's kind of like real baseball with Dynastly League Baseball sometimes, where I know we argue when you get mad about the dice and stuff like that, but it's kind of like how a team gets hot, and they're the ones who win the World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, the real Texas Rangers a couple of years ago, the same thing. They got super hot and they could not be stopped.
Yeah, and then Arizona Diamondbacks that same year, no one expected them to make the World
Oh
Series. So,
yeah, they were
yeah,
out of nowhere.
yeah,
So before we get into the mock draft, let's talk about a couple of topics that will impact this mock.
yeah,
So foreign player impact. In years past, I've seen the drafts where we have a lot of foreign players that are drafted high. Uh, you know, Otani, of course, back then, and over the years, all the foreign players, because of those impact players, get drafted high. Are there impact players there now with Roki going minor league contract?
yeah. There's not as many at the top of the draft, but there's a couple guys. One, we could be picking today in the first round, and another is likely to be in the first three rounds, but not a major impact player other than Roki.
Yeah. Well, the strengths of the draft, I mean, it's obvious. It's pitching, pitching, and more pitching. A lot of starters, a lot of really good relievers, not much
Yeah,
hitting.
yeah. I don't remember a draft that had this many starts in the draft that are usable starts.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, the hitting is pretty rough in this draft, that's for sure. And there's not a lot of impact players, not a lot of ringers either.
No. And I looked at starts for the teams that we have in the league, and a lot of people are really short starts this year. So this is a good draft for those people to be able to catch up.
Definitely.
All right, well, let's kick this off, man. Uh,
Yeah,
we're going to go every other turn. I think you're going to go first, right?
I'm gonna go first. So for the New York Mets, Tony is there's gonna be no surprise on this one. He's gonna take Paul Skeens,
Oh, I thought you were going to say
and
Ruben Sierra.
side note on Paul Skeens, I worked at El Toro High School for 20 years as a school psychologist, and Paul Skeens is a El Toro alum, and his sister was a teammate of my daughter in volleyball. El Toro High
Wow.
School also had Nolan Arenado and Matt Chapman as alumni, as well as Austin Romine, who wasn't quite a star, but another El Toro alumni.
That is really cool,
Tony
man.
Tony's getting a great one. And Paul Skeens, he used to have Jacob DeGrom, so this is good. He had the best pitcher in baseball. He might have the future best pitcher in baseball.
Wow. Yeah, it's just obviously he is one of those just impact, obvious first pick overall kind of guys.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
even in regular like fantasy drafts for baseball, he's going to go top. So yeah. All right. Well, number two, we have Tampa Bay, and they need bats, they need power, they need more talent in general, and I have him taking Dylan Cruz, and
Yeah,
he's an obvious pick, I think, and I think we knew going into this year that Skeens and Cruz were probably going to be 1-2, and it didn't change all year.
yeah, and there's some other great pitchers, but it's hard to pass up a great hitter just in terms of the consistency and injury factor. Cruz is a great pick there.
Absolutely.
With the third pick, George is doing a great job of assembling some young hitters. I like the young hitters on his team, but he definitely needs some pitching, and this is a great spot to take young Jared Jones. Um, and that'll be an anchor to his rotation for years.
Yes, and he is one of my favorite players in this draft, and I'm not surprised to see him go so early. In fact, Detroit only has 119 starts, so they really need to pick up some starts somewhere, and they get a true good one right here. Pittsburgh, man, hitting with the really good starting arms this year. Look at that.
For sure.
All right, number four, we have the New York Yankees. They need starters and they need a catcher. I think starters is more of a need because they only have 123 starts. He has lots of bats, and he's going to have a lot of picks this year, including his Gomer picks of 9 open spots. I have him taking Luis Gill. He was Rookie of the Year for the Yankees, and he's a really good starting arm. He's not as good as Jared Jones or Paul Skeens, but he is right below that plateau, in my opinion.
That's a solid pick there. And next, Oakland. He has a good mix of some young players and some veterans. I was a little torn over whether to take a starter or a position player here, but I think he's going to go ahead and take the best card on the board here. Take Ronel Blanco. He could use pitching, and he would be an impact pitcher for him this season.
Ronel Blanco. There we go. So Ronel Blanco goes number 4 to Oakland. I'm sorry, number 5 to Oakland. Everybody's getting the wrong number there. Yeah, he's a really good pitcher. He's got a jam, and he's one of those few guys who's going to be there. I mean, even if he doesn't come back as strong as he did last year, jam pitchers are always available in trades and have value.
Yeah, and with the season he had, it's hard to believe it's just a 1 year wonder.
Yes.
I think maybe not quite as good as he did in 2024, but he should be a solid pitcher
I think
for
so
at
too.
least this number of years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. So number 6, we have KC. And I think Feig's a little mad that Blanco just went. And he's probably like, dang it, I was hoping to get him there. I'm probably not going to get him. I wouldn't be surprised if he trades this pick. And he's going to be sitting in the draft looking around talking to people who wants this pick. And people are going to like some players there, so they may want to trade up. But if he stays there, I think he could take the best bat available, I think. I think the best bat in the draft is probably going to be Tyler Fitzgerald. He can play everywhere. He's carded at so many different positions. And you look at his numbers, and he can hit for power, and he can run. And he's a versatile guy. I really like him.
Yeah, I don't think Casey's gonna be too disappointed. Brian will like taking Fitzgerald. I agree that he probably did want Blanco, but Fitzgerald's a solid pick right there. With the next pick, San Diego, Steve Fee. Just to mention Fee's outfield when I was looking over his roster, I just want to mention Fee has Ronald Acuna Jr., Mike Trout, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill, Colton Cowser, James Wood, Taylor Ward, Joe Adele, and that he has more outfielders, I think, but those 8 right there. I mean, I know 3 of them are Fs for this season, which is rough for him. But wow, has there ever been a more talented outfield in the history of our league?
I don't think so, man. That's just riches out the wazoo, man. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, that really is. And his team is great this year. He still thinks, I think he's a year away from being the top contender, but he could use some starting pitching. He could also use a first base bat. There's whispers he might be trading this pick, but if he keeps it, I see him taking Mike Toglia to fill his first base need.
Wow. That's another good bet. I mean, Mike Toglia is one of those interesting guys. He's got a lot of power and some speed, and he put up those numbers in the minors and the majors, but can he hit for the average? I don't know.
Yeah, and one thing we were talking about is the lack of hitting in this draft.
Yes.
Are hitters going to be a premium? Or are they going to go a little higher than they normally would just because the lack of depth of hitting in this draft?
Yeah, it's really affected the trade market too. I know many of us, when we've talked trade, we look for bats, and it's like all of a sudden now you're looking at this guy. Well, he'd be a first rounder if he was in the draft. So that it skews the value more than I've seen in years.
Yeah, and hitting was down in the major leagues, and it's definitely, you look across the rosters and you see that average OPS I think fell 30, 40 points.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, let's go to number 8. That would be the Chicago Cubs. And I looked at their roster and tried to figure out what they needed. They need some outfield power, and I think, Toglia would have been a good guy there, potentially. With him gone, maybe it's a little early to reach for Noel. I don't know. But I think he could also use a closer. And when I looked at his bullpen, it was really lacking. He has 170 starts, but his bullpen was really short, and he had no real closers. I think this could be where our Jam Plus goes here of Trevor McGill. And the reason why is because even if he doesn't reproduce this every year, that Jam Plus card is worth something. And you can trade that, absolutely. I'll tell you this. I think I got to the World Series because I had 3 Jam bullpen guys. and they carried me in games. It'd be like I'd make it through 6 innings and the game's over because I have these guys that will shut you down. And I really can't
Yeah,
place enough value on it.
having those two jam closers in this draft, I can't imagine they're going to fall too far in this draft, and that's probably a good spot for the first one to go.
Yeah.
Um, Next, the Dodgers. As we talked about, they struck gold with getting Roki Sasaki. I think everyone was, some of the teams, maybe San Diego, Toronto. I know Mike and Steve probably thought there's a chance that they can get him, but Steve landed him, and pairing him with Sandy Alcantara as two ace pitchers for his future.
Mm-hmm.
His team still needs a lot of pitching help, especially for this year, and I had him with the best young starter, Spencer Arrighetti.
Okay. It's a good arm right there. Yeah, I had him like needing starters. I think he could have used more because he has 147, and I knew he was. And of course, he's gonna wait till the last minute to make his draft pick because that's what he does. Always gotta wait with Steve.
I know, and we've been in the league a long time. I think I started in 2000, and that reputation
Oh yeah,
was well before I came to the league.
yes, absolutely. All right, we move to number 10, and now we're gonna go with Houston, and this is where it could go many different ways because there's a lot of different arms in the league, and I think Houston's going to take an arm because he needs them badly. He has 118 starts on his roster according to my numbers here, and he wants young talent. And you start looking what's out there and what can help him now and what can help him in the future. You want to rebuild when you're Houston. And I know Jacob's been very aggressive about picking up starters, and I think if it's me, I would probably go with Tobias Myers. Tobias Myers, I think, kind of fits that description to help him in the short term and the long term because he's got long term potential as well. Gets him a ton of starts to fill that roster up too.
Definitely. All right, next Cincinnati. Their team is second in the Mountain West in projected WAR. I think he still probably is in a rebuilding phase, but I mean he's in a position where the playoffs is definitely achievable. And looking at his team, just like the Cubs, I think Cincinnati lacked bullpen, and getting the other jam closer, Chad Green, would be a really good fit here, and
Ooh,
he'd help that team a lot.
kind of a surprising pick, but when you think about it, it makes sense. Again, to get that jam closer, and it's a valuable asset. Plus, he's going to be playing more, and it's a good pick. All right, so number 12, we go to San Francisco. Now, I think this is going to be a little bit of a surprise. And again, we have the same thing. When I looked at San Francisco, he has 205 starts. So as much as a crazy rich as there is starting pitching, and I know he loves starters, I think that he may surprise people and take a really good reliever who I think he had the second highest or top 5 at least in fastball velocity in the majors, and that is Justin Martinez. He's a kid with a big arm, and I see he could be closing games in Arizona at some point very soon.
Yeah, I mean he may be the closer right now. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he that's a great pick right there.
Isn't he a long, I think?
Is he along as well? That would even make him more valuable.
Yeah, let me double check my stuff here. I think he's a long. Sorry to kill us some time here, but
That's all right.
yeah, he is a long.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and I'm going to give away a secret here. I know you're going to get mad over this. People get mad, but if you have more innings than appearances, even by 1 inning, you're going to get a long. And Justin Martinez had 64 appearances and 72 and 2/3 innings pitched. So that makes him this really valuable this year and for the long term. I think that's a smart pick.
Yeah. Well, Houston's back up again, and like we chatted, Jacob and Glenn are definitely rebuilding, and they're looking for young talent in the starting rotation. You took Tobias Myers, and I'm going to add another young starter, Hayden Birdsong. Maybe a little farther away from producing, but a lot of upside.
I like him, and I took him in my other league. I'm in SMBL, and I bid on him because it's not his true draft. And I targeted him because I thought he was one of those guys who can show up later. and really step up. His minor league metrics look really solid for producing in the majors. So I think he could do it. Maybe not fully this year yet, but the kid's got potential. All right, number 14, we have Toronto, Mike Jackson. And Mike, he's a really smart owner. I mean, you look at what he's done over the years. He makes a lot of very good picks, and he builds his team methodically. And that's why it's hard to make this pick. What he needs, looking at his team, is he's a playoff-bound pitching team, and he needs more pitching. He needs more bullpen. He needs a lot more bullpen, I think, and he could probably use it as a starter or two. I think that's why this year he goes for, I think, could be the best relieving arm, one of the best relieving arms in the draft, and that is, Edwin Uceda. So let me tell you why. People are probably like, what? Why him? Okay, he's got a long. I'll first say that. He has 0.83 whip. He's got like no walks, 57 strikeouts in 41 and 2/3 innings, only 2 homers allowed. He's not going to have any deeps, not going to have any walks, and he's going to shut you down. And that guy is going to be tough. As a long.
Yeah, his card is amazing. Maybe the best reliever card, or one of the best 2 or 3. He only has 41 innings, so he only will get maybe 62 out of his EJ season. But still, I think that's a great pick. I mean, you talking about quality of innings. That's incredible at the back of your bullpen,
especially in the playoffs. When you look in the playoffs, he's going to be a massive tool.
Yeah. All right, for the Cubs at 15, Cubs, when I looked over their roster, outfield might be their weakest area, and Heliot Ramos just fell right into their lap because, I mean, he's a guy that I thought would go higher, and here he is sitting at 15, and I think, Steve would be very happy to have Heliot Ramos fall to him at 15.
Man, that's a slide. You're right. I didn't think he would go this far down. And here it is. But I mean, you have these other players and these other needs, and next thing you know, Heliot Ramos falls down. It's debatable how good he's going to be. He could be one of these guys that produces where he's at right now every year, but that's not bad. Yeah, good pick. All right, we go at number 16. Number 16 is Minnesota. He needs more bullpen, and that's my assessment based on that. He has 173 starts, so he's pretty good in starts. He's probably going to get another starter later, but with the dearth of hitting, especially with some of these guys out, I think he could take a big reliever, and that reliever would be Brian Hudson.
And he might have the best card of all. I mean,
yes,
his innings pitch to hit ratio was just insane.
It is ridiculous. I'm trying to pull his numbers up, but it was just ridiculous what it was. And I can't find it right now, but I remember looking at it thinking, there it is. Okay, he's another long, 43 appearances, 62 and a third, 62 strikeouts, 0.72 whip. I mean, you're not doing anything on this guy. And the only reason I took Uceda over him before is probably because of deeps. He's got 7 homers allowed and 62 and a third, so he's going to have some deeps. He has a few walks.
And he's a lefty.
But he's
going to give you 100 innings with that, and that with those 60 some innings. So
yes. With a long, yes. Mm-hmm. He's got some value, and he looked really good. He's one of those guys that before the year we're like, who's Brian Hudson? And now here he is going in the first round of our mock draft. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, next is St. Louis. And Ron has a really good team, a young team too, and he does have a need at second base. And I thought this was a perfect landing place for Otto Lopez.
Oh, I love him.
He's got an A at second base. He's not a half bad hitter. He's young. He's got a good job there in Miami. I think it's a good landing spot.
He's one of those underrated guys, and I did a lot of homework on this guy because I was hoping he could slide more. I don't think he's going to slide to me in the second round where I want to get him. But he's one of those guys who can play a lot of places, like you're right. And he has good defense. He just kind of helps everywhere. And his minor league metrics, to me, look like he could do something. So, I don't know. I think it's a really good pick there. I was hoping you weren't going to say him. Here we are, I guess. All right, now we go to Arizona. And Arizona, I have him looking at pitching because, there's a bunch of pitching in the draft, of course. And there's still some guys out there. And this is where, again, it's starting to get a little thinner from the top tier. And it's maybe the second tier has passed. But there's a guy I think has some talent, and that's DJ Hers. I think he's lefty, if I'm not mistaken.
He's a lefty.
He's lefty, but
a lot of strikeouts.
Of strikeouts, and that's why that stood out for me when I was looking at him in the minor leagues, especially that he had big strikeout numbers. And for me, lefties usually get better as they get older. The closer they get to 30, the more they start to refine themselves. So I think he's got some room to grow, and it's a good pick here, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, you took my next pick from me because I was actually thinking about taking him for Kevin. Kevin got Dylan Cruz earlier, obviously a fantastic upside player, but Kevin needs at-bats and innings for this season, and he obviously wants young upside guys. I'm going to end up taking Michael Ciani, a guy that, for a young team, he's A in all outfield positions. He's an unlimited card, so Kevin could use him all year long. He needs players that could play this year, and to get a young top defensive center fielder, I almost think in my head, I don't know if it's fair to compare him and Brenton Doyle, but last year Brenton Doyle had an A in center field and ended up far surpassing the expectations offensively the next season. Maybe that'll be Michael Ciani as well.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you something real quick. How valuable do you think defense is in DLB, Dynasty League Baseball?
I know there's a lot of owners that value it very highly. Personally, I've always favored hitters who are a little weaker defensively versus a guy who's strong defensively and not a strong hitter. How about you?
I agree. I think range especially is overrated. I think they're just percentages that it comes up. Those roles are just they're not worth the value of the bat. So some people will just let go of a guy if he has a C or a D, and I can't play that, and they don't pursue him. But I'll take him, and I don't think he gets pinged as much, especially if he has a minus arm in the outfield. To me that's worth more than the range. And when I played last year, I had guys with -3, -3, -2 in the outfield, and guys couldn't run on me. And it was actually kind of cool, and people would get upset about it. I was like, man, I can't take any extra bases. And to me, that's more valuable than the range because it comes up more often.
Yeah, that's definitely a good perspective. And I know, I'm jealous of the people that get A players. I've hardly had any A players in my 24 or 5 years in the league. I mean, I had Luis Robert last year as an A in center field, and he was fantastic. But I haven't had many because I seek out players I think have more offensive upside. I'd love to have both, a great hitter and a guy who could field, but if I choose one or the other, I've always tended to take the hitter.
I'm sorry, man. I saw he didn't get an A this year. He dropped down to what, like a C, C plus?
C plus, yeah.
Oh.
He was a train wreck. I mean, his offense and defense regressed.
Just about everybody with the White Sox regressed. And they just signed your boy Joey Gallo too, so there you go.
Oh yeah, Joey Gallo. I mean, I'm sure he's toast and not going to contribute. But if there's any team in the league that will give him an opportunity to bat, it's probably the White Sox.
Yep. Doesn't need to hit 200, no problem. There we go. All right, Number 20, St. Louis, again. I think he got Otto Lopez earlier, and again, really good pick. I think he looks for pitching. Pitching is starting to get a little more thin at this point, but there's still another guy out there I think that has value that could go in the first round, and that's Andre Payante. And Andre, he has pretty good numbers in the minors, and he doesn't strike out a whole ton of people, but he gets it done, and I think he's effective there.
Yeah, he had a great year. He just won his arbitration case, and I think he's projected as the number 2 or 3 starter for the Cardinals this year.
That's pretty good.
Next, Fee. Fee definitely always likes young upside players. He has a really good bullpen at the top but I think he's not going to pass up a guy like Porter Hodge. Porter Hodge has an amazing card. He's 23 years old. He's not going to be the closer this year because the Cubs got Ryan Presley, but I think he's not going to want to pass up on that arm.
Yeah, Porter Hodge has a big time arm. I like that arm. I don't know if he can resist taking another talented outfielder like Noel here, but we'll see.
Yeah.
In fact,
I thought about it.
I'll tell you what. On the next pick here with Chicago, the Cubs, I'm going to take Noel because I think he has power. He's young, but I think he could do it. I'm trying to see how he spells his first name. There it is. That looks right.
That's John Johnsky. Something
John
like that.
Kinsey. John Kinsey. I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah, well the Cubs definitely needed outfield, and getting
Yes.
Heliot Ramos and Johnsky Noel, that's a big boost to his outfield, and
Oh yeah.
definitely a lot of upside there. He's only 22.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that pick.
Next is Steve Feagin, his third first round pick. He probably should take a guy for this year because he has the third best WAR in the West. He has a great team, but he does always want to take the upside player, and I'm gonna take the everyday second baseman for the Dodgers, Hyun Kim. He's an uncarded guy, won't help him this year, but I think he's not going to want to pass up on the value there.
I agree. I think he is the best international player to join the draft. I think he is going to walk into that starting position. He may not put massive numbers like others have, but I think he can he can contribute. Absolutely, especially from second base. That brings us to you, and I'm not going to let
Yeah,
you
who am I
pick.
taking?
I've thought about a few different guys here, and I was looking at some people. And I was like, there's like a David Hamilton has some speed, but you can't steal first, honestly. And so I went with Kevin Alcantara here, and whether or not take him, he's a good prospect, and Alcantara has some potential, and I think he makes some sense there for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of many that know I love prospects.
What? That surprises me. I can't believe that. You and Fee, I hear he likes prospects
Well, I
too.
mean, he actually knows them better because does scouting. I
Yeah.
just like read the magazines.
Yeah, me too. You and me both, man. You and me both. So we had a lot of pitchers taken. I mean, obviously it was just pitcher heavy, and just like we thought it would be. And
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of relievers that people would say, oh gosh, relievers in the first round, but they provide a lot of value, and a lot of them are young too. So,
yeah, there's still some guys out there that didn't get taken that could go up in the first round, like we didn't mention. And I kind of mentioned David Hamilton because he has that speed. But that's one guy I would keep my eye on.
yeah, he has speed and versatility. I could see a contending team wanting to move up and get him because he might be blocked somewhat in the future in Boston, but he could be a really impact guy. His versatility is a lefty bat. That speed is huge.
Yeah, that speed is massive, and that's something that also served me well, and I'm sure served you well with Evan Carter last year, where you can just put him in and get on base, and he can steal some
Oh,
bases.
he
And
was actually a beast in the playoffs for me.
yeah, and you get these
Um,
guys that do that, they can run. And I did that in another league where I had a guy. Oh no, this league I had Ruiz, and he was a guy I didn't play much, but he had 9 steal and 9 base running, and I just got him in the game as a pinch runner and just take second, take third. That's a strain.
Yeah. Well, since you're mentioning some guys that could have gone in the first, two hitters in my mind that I thought could sneak into the first. Jose Iglesias had an
Mm,
amazing. I think he had 338 this year. He has a limited card, but boy, that's going to be an impact player for a contender. And then also Jonah Bride. I saw
Jonah
him a lot at the
Bride.
AAA Aviators here, but he had a pretty good year, and he's a ringer card. He's I think 302 A or B power against righties.
Yeah, he's eight twenty
And
seven
also he
OPS.
hasn't. And also I think he's projected to be the cleanup hitter for the Marlins this year. So he's an everyday player. He's 25, 26 years old. I mean that's a pretty good hitter. At that point, he's gonna have opportunity, and his card's good now.
Yeah. All right. Well, obviously, we're not replacing Doug's mock. Doug is the granddaddy of them all, of course.
Well, and what's great about Doug's mock is he has the greatest write ups. I mean, they're
Yeah.
funny, they're thoughtful. Doug is a great writer. He just published a book.
Yeah.
On a subject that's probably way above us, but.
Yes. Absolutely.
But no, we're anxious to see his mock too, and he actually does tries to pick the brain of the different owners, so he can not just base it on the depth chart.
Yeah.
He tries to see who the person needs, not just the team needs.
Yeah. This is a lot of fun, David. I had a lot of fun doing this. Let's do this after the
This,
draft.
yeah, we should definitely do a recap after the draft and see if our, how which picks were great and which picks we really bombed on.
Yes. I mean, it could be totally different, and I expect it
Yeah,
to
oh
be.
yeah, right. But this was a lot of fun, and it was really cool hanging out with you. Last time we hung out and really talked this much was back probably in EJMA convention in Texas in
Wow.
early 2000s when you worked at Microsoft there.
That was before I had gray hair. Wow.
Yeah,
It's a long time ago. Yeah.
yeah. But
This
that
is a
was a
lot of
lot of
fun.
fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and we'll
All
see you
right,
next time.
all right. See you guys.
Okay. We're cut there.
Oh, I said see you guys. I should have said whatever.
See ya. Yeah, whatever.